Cruising is Life podcast. Whether you're a seasoned cruiser or just starting out, we have something for everyone. So sit back, relax, and get ready to set sail with us on the Cruising is Life podcast.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. Back for another episode, back for more talks of Icon of the Seas. Very hot topic, and it's also a topic I just cannot stop talking about over the last couple of weeks. Justin's not here. He is actually on board Norwegian Epic. We're going to have a bonus episode this week with a review of Norwegian Epic straight from him. But to take his place this week, we've got Dimitri. He's returning again. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Excited for another exciting talk of Icon here.
100%.
Oh, yeah. So I guess to get started, have you been on any the Oasis class or any of that, or?
I haven't, but going around and you hear plenty of things, seen plenty of videos. It's just it's something different, and it's you gotta like that kind of cruising,
right,
to go back on them after you try them once. People say they love them, some people say they hate them, but I mean, you still can't get around. That's 5, 6, 7,000 people in one place.
Right, exactly. It's crazy. It's definitely not for everybody. Not everybody's going to enjoy the Oasis class. I'm also not centered here in the screen. But not everybody's going to adjust or not going to like the Oasis class, just because of how many people. And so that's one of the big things with Icon too, is a lot of people are like, all right, just another big ship and it's even bigger. But it's all subjective. I, for one, that's the ship for me that kind of got me started into cruising and got me interested. It was like watching the Freedom of the Seas, all the construction for her, Liberty, Independence, that kind of got me interested. And then once I started seeing Project Genesis, that was like, whoa, this is really cool. And I think ever since, the first talks of Project Genesis way back in the day, for me, that's pretty much what got me started. And so there's a lot of people where, it has a lot of sentimental value, or just, they like the big ships. There's a lot to do on those ships too. And I think
much to do. Exactly.
And I feel like they're considered the game changers, at least one of the original game changers.
Mm-hmm. And another thing to bring up is when, we're, let's say, deciding on a cruise, a lot of people go, okay, where is it going and what ship is it on? But a lot of people who decide to go on those, it's all for the ship.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly the reason
there's no
why.
questions asked.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly how I am. It goes for any ship, but whenever they said, last year or 2022, when they said, oh, we're going to put Allure of the Seas on the 3 and 4 nights out of Port Canaveral, I was like, I don't care that it's going on 3 and 4 nights. The Allure's coming back here. I'm going on the Allure. I haven't been on it yet.
So true. Mm-hmm.
So, there's people like that, of course. And, there's so much to do. And the Oasis class really revolutionized the industry, because after that, it really ushered in the era of the mega ships.
100%. And the other thing is that when people, go on these ships, they're like, how much bigger, better can they get from this,
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool to see how many little changes that they've made for Icon.
Right, exactly. And that was always my thing too, is that you had the major success of the Oasis class and the Quantum class too. Both of those ships and those projects were really, really good and very successful. Mm-hmm. And they did a lot of things right with those. And that was always my thing with the Icon classes. How do you top the Oasis or the Quantum class?
Yeah, and especially, obviously, I think we're going to get 4 of these, and what little differences are they going to, hopefully they learn, I don't want to say from their mistakes, but just like Norwegian, they learn from their mistakes with Prima and Viva, and there were a lot of them. And
there's a lot of them.
Going to fix things up, and, and that's the other thing, is kind of segueing. That's why they put that ship on port-intensive itineraries, because they know on sea days, that top deck, the whole thing of the ship does not work out. There's too many people, and there's not enough space to do it all. But anywho, hopefully, with other iterations of the Icon class, they'll fix little things here and there.
Yeah, and that's one thing with Icon. It's it's the first in class, which is the big big brand new thing, but I know Icon 3, and I don't think it's been confirmed yet, but I know there's been talks of an Icon 4 being ordered. You know,
Oh, I cannot imagine.
especially with the success that Icon's already having, and it's only on its maiden voyage like right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I know
Yep.
given the success that they're having so far with the Icon class, I know there's going to be a fourth one for sure. And the third and fourth ships are going to be just miles better than the Icon, which is hard to think, but that's definitely going to be the case, I think.
And I think, or at least I hope, kind of going back to it, what I had said, some people go for the ship, some people go for the itinerary. There's not very many places that these ships can go.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to differentiate these ships somehow because, you say you go on Icon. Then you're like, okay, but I want to go on, you're going on Star. But some people are like, oh, I want to go on Star. But if it's the same thing, how could I justify, the $5 or $6 that I'm going to pay to go on it? If the ship is no longer the destination because you've already been on it.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what they're trying to do is create a ship that is a destination. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely the case because I know they've even said, there's going to be changes coming to Star. It's not going to be, miles different or anything like that. But I know they're like, oh, we're going to add a hot tub that, got scratched from the Icon, things like that. So, as each one goes, there's different changes. And of course, you got to improve on what you did. I know
100%.
They did that with the XL class and the, with the Mardi Gras all the way up to the Jubilee. Mardi Gras is a fantastic ship. It was one of my favorite classes of ships. Like one of the only that actually have come close to being up there with the Oasis. But with the Jubilee, they just kind of perfected it all. Added little things, just rearranged a couple things, and now the Jubilee is probably one of the better of the three.
Yeah, and the other thing is okay, so there's going to be 4. There's so many different things, like obviously like the 6 different neighborhoods. I hope they really differentiate, things between them and don't just kind of cookie cutter it as per se,
right?
Copy and paste one another.
Right, exactly. And I think that's one thing with the Oasis class that I think they did really well is that each set of 2 were different and like almost like a generational leap, but the same thing. Like you can tell a clear difference.
Like Vista class, like they changed the water park, they changed the inside here and there, like the Dr. Seuss stuff. So I mean,
exactly.
It's all subjective like stuff, and that'll make people, oh, I see this, ooh, I want to go try this. And hopefully the other thing, they change like the restaurants, like okay, you can keep your 3 or 4 that are on every single royal ship, but all the special ones bring in some sort of chef to do like a special different restaurant.
Right, exactly. Kind of like how they did the boardwalk on the Oasis class where the original 2 had Sabor, it was like that Mexican restaurant there on the boardwalk. And then as Harmony and Symphony, I don't think Harmony has it, but Symphony did. That was something that was coming out as Symphony was starting to launch with Playmakers. They changed that up. They don't have the bar there. They changed up the boardwalk. They added that Ultimate Abyss. They put Playmakers down there, and just little tweaks, changes around the ship, just to kind of keep it fresh, different. And like you said, that you're not paying, especially with the Icon prices, close to $6,000 or more, just to go on the same thing the next year.
On the same thing twice, yeah.
Right.
And, obviously they're going to be here in the Caribbean, but I am excited to see if they do like a summer season in the Med. I'm excited to see if they decide to do that.
That would be really cool to see. I know it comes down to docking space, but the really cool thing that I've noticed about the Icon class is that the dimensions are very similar to the Oasis class. So it's unless it's just a super tight fit, unless it's a super super tight fit for the Oasis class, it will work for the Icon. I think it's like 5 feet or something like that, but like the width, the length, and everything, I think they're just a little bit taller, and just the way they designed the actual superstructure of the ship is where they get the extra tonnage.
Yeah, and all the stuff on top obviously adds weight.
Right.
I feel like it's more dense inside than Oasis class.
Right, exactly. And, like we mentioned earlier, the Oasis class back then were the original game changers, revolutionized the industry. Before the Oasis came out, I mean, we were getting, 154 160 or so thousand tons. That was like the Freedom class, and nothing really came even close to that. You know, before that, Carnival was putting out, 110,000 ton ships. Norwegian was putting out, 90,000 ton ships, other than the Epic. But the Epic kind of, was going on, and Justin, I see Justin in the chat. He's on the Epic right now.
Yes, he is.
But it before the Oasis class, the ships weren't very big back then, and then all of a sudden, here comes Royal Caribbean just dropping these 200,000 ton ships, and at the time they couldn't get anywhere, and that was kind of the biggest problem with them. But that's not a problem that we're running into with the Icon class. A lot of the
they've had all these years to figure it out.
Exactly, and that's with the same similar dimensions and everything like that, they can get into most ports, and so I think now it's an even better time for them to launch a ship of this magnitude. This is similar to the Oasis class, and as far as like how big it is for the industry. Again, they're game changers, but I think these are going to be even better for the industry than the Oasis class because of how much better prepared they are this time, I think, and how more prepared the ports, the cruise line, everything like that is, just to kind of accept something like this.
So another thing is, do you, I'm thinking obviously, there's only a handful in the Caribbean where they can fit, but where else do you think they could expand to? I feel like if they would have already expanded, they would have already done it, but I wonder why they're waiting or not doing it. As in for the ports.
I think there's some ports that just don't want big ships, and then there's other ports that just don't have the ability to do it, I think is what it is. As I know, for me a long time, Nassau was a very tight fit. For those who don't know, Nassau really couldn't fit the Oasis class in there whenever they first launched. They just finished dredging like a week before the Oasis actually came in for the first time. They almost didn't go. But like now we have, you couldn't get into St. Thomas. You couldn't get into, I think you could get into St. Martin, but typically like the only places you could go were Labadee, Nassau, Cozumel, and St. Martin. And then you had like Falmouth. Like that was it.
Falmouth.
Yeah. And at the time they didn't have everything upgraded with Coco Cay, so they weren't tendering into Coco Cay. They weren't even using that island really. So I think Royal Caribbean, and I think everybody as a whole, is a lot more prepared this time, and now they've created a ship that's a 2.0 version of the Oasis class, I think.
And I just hope that, with itineraries coming out, 26, 27, 28, they just don't saturate the ports with these ships, although it's probably inevitable. Like I know you send some to the Med, obviously you're going to have some in the Caribbean, but on, generally, okay, these ports can hold one ship. Okay, Nassau can hold two, Cozumel two, all these ones can hold two. But what if you got to go more than three? Like what if it's Oasis, Allure, and Icon all in the same, and they're all doing Eastern that week? You just got to think about how many people that is and just all the logistics of that and how enjoyable the port's going to be.
Yeah, because that's what we're running into as well, is that, the way they've done the Oasis class now is that all of them are, the way they stagger the dry docks every 5 years and all that, there's always one now that's going over to Europe for the summer, which is really cool how they've kind of worked that in.
100%.
But like you said, when you get a double Oasis class day, which it never really happens very often, but now that there's about to be 6 of them, it's going to be like a normal occurrence. Like, it's just inevitable. When you have 6 ships like that, they're going to end up in port together.
Yeah. And I know I just sent you this article the other day, but I think there's in talks of Port Miami adding another Icon-sized terminal. And I think they're going to have to do that because there's only, 2 days out of the week, Saturday, Sunday, for 7 days. You're not going to want to leave on a Monday unless they move one of the new ones to 3 and 4 days. So that port's going to be full after the second one, unless they go to Everglades and then Canaveral. But those ports are already full too on busy season.
Yeah, Canaveral's getting really crazy, especially busy season. Like this year is probably the busiest it's ever been, and next year is going to be. We're adding like 3 ships on top of what we've already got this year
Yeah.
at minimum.
They need
I
to
think there's even
do
more.
that terminal like yesterday.
Right, exactly. I make the joke, like, to all the Canaveral people, that I talk to, all the ship spotters that are sometimes here on the podcast. But like, I make the joke to them, like, Canaveral needs to like start planning their 8th terminal already, and they haven't even started on the 7th.
Yeah.
Like,
They need to be on top of it.
yeah, like they don't even plan on breaking ground for that new terminal in Canaveral until like December.
Oof! Yikes!
Yeah, like they're from what the plans and everything said, that new terminal, they're gonna spend basically the whole year testing testing like the soil and things like that, and they've got to move an entire marina as well, which kind of sucks. But
I'll check the FDOT plans when I go back to work and see what they're cooking up over there.
all
I
right,
mean, inevitably, Galveston's also another option too. I mean, I think
Oh,
one's
yeah.
definitely gonna have to go there.
yeah, Galveston will absolutely get a icon class. It's just a matter of when. We don't know yet, but and it won't be one of the new ones. I'm sorry to burst any Galveston bubbles, but I don't.
Yeah, but it's okay. They can deal with it.
Royal Caribbean has just never put a brand new ship in Galveston. I know Carnival does it, and that's completely different, because Carnival like has a very big stronghold on Galveston, to the point where they have like 3, 4, I think maybe even 5 ships coming up that are all going to be home ported there at once. Like that's like Carnival's bread and butter. Like they, Royal, they go over to Europe, they go up north to New York, they go all over the place. Carnival, they basically stay in Florida, and then they stay in Galveston year round. Like they don't really, they have such a big
Go to the West
stronghold over
Coast.
there. Exactly, that too. Yeah, they're doing really well over the West Coast finally, which is great.
Sure.
Just I don't think Royal Caribbean has the market, or really the confidence in the Galveston market, just because of that's not really their stronghold just yet. Again, not that the icon wouldn't be successful over there. It's more of a, we still haven't
Is
done
it
this
worth
yet. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like they will put the
It's a gamble.
icon there. Exactly. Like they will put the icon there, or one of the icon class, but it wouldn't be a brand new one. Like it won't be fresh out of the shipyard. It'll probably be a year or two old. If they
Sure. And
if they wanted to, they would have done that with Utopia and put her there.
I mean, I feel like the shorter cruises there's no point. I guess I get it. It's in the middle of the country, but other than that, you do those for like the weekends. But it's much better to do one out of Florida where you can make a destination out of it.
Right,
There's a lot of
exactly.
people there's other options you can do, and they can make competition.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, Galveston's a great port, and it's growing very fast and very, just very quickly overall. It's more of like, that's just not something Royal Caribbean's ever done. Carnival likes to do it, and they know it works for them, but Royal's just never done it. And I don't see them doing that with the Icon class, not at least not for a while. Maybe if things change over the next couple of years, I could see it maybe with Icon 4, but I would likely see that happening, or probably see Icon 4 going somewhere else first, but they'll either get Icon or Star. It's just a matter of when.
And there's the cat.
Yep.
Speaking of, I know obviously Oasis class has the retractable funnels. Icon has those too, right? Or no?
Yes, she does have retractable funnels in the smokestacks. Yeah.
So maybe New York to do Bermuda.
I could definitely see that. I don't know how much taller she is compared to the Oasis class. I
don't either. Yeah.
I know it was a very tight fit in the Great Belt Bridge, leaving Finland. But I don't know how much taller that bridge is compared to the Verrazano Bridge in New York, New Jersey. But I mean, I could definitely see it as long as it fits. They definitely will do it.
I think they'll definitely do it. I think that'd be great because that gives you 3 sea days, 3.5 sea days.
Oh yeah.
And the ship stays in one place. You only got to worry about one port. But also they're pretty saturated there too. So
right, exactly. They've got 2 ships over there, or I guess 2 ships during the winter, and then 1 Oasis class during the summer, which is great for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, it's crazy how like much some of these ports have been growing over the last couple of years, and especially up north. I didn't really ever think of like New York cruising up until recently, and then I was like, oh wow, like Norwegian has a really big stronghold up there, and you know Royal Caribbean's doing a lot over there too now.
Yeah, I mean, the Royal Caribbean, I think, has been there. I mean, Norwegian's been up there, obviously, with Escape, Breakaway
Yeah.
back in the day. But
Yeah.
recently, Royal Caribbean has been stepping it up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The fact that they put an Oasis class up there is impressive. I didn't think it would ever actually fit, but they do. But I think it's awesome that they're able to do that, and they're willing to do that with an Oasis class. And
They must be doing something right if they keep sending it back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like this year they're getting Symphony. It was the
Yeah.
first 2 to 3 years they got Oasis and it did really well. Now they're getting Symphony. I wouldn't be surprised maybe, there's whenever Icon 3 comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Icon becomes a seasonal Miami ship like Oasis was. I could absolutely see that actually.
And I think they're going to have to do that, to differentiate, because I don't want to say you got to spread them out.
Right.
Can't have, Oasis plus all the Icon in one place. It's just going to be, I think, havoc for everybody.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're definitely they can't put all of them in Florida, as cool as it would be. To have them all here in Florida, that's just a lot of people, and that's a lot of ship as well to have them in Florida, or at least all of them in Florida. But yeah, it'll be really interesting how they do it with the third and inevitably the fourth one probably.
Yep.
One thing I've really noticed with the Icon class too is that it going back to like my comment earlier about Oasis 2.0, like I've noticed there's a lot of changes around that ship from like the previews and just like all the videos and stuff like that are coming out of it. The fact there's a swim up bar on it, that's insane. One,
that is so insane.
The fact that they were able to actually like logistically pull that off is pretty crazy.
And I mean, it gets a little wavy out there. You're going to be sloshing around like the drink too.
Yeah, for real. It'll be interesting to see how like that all plays out. Especially, well, I mean, in a rough weather, there's probably not gonna be a whole lot of people in there.
True,
but yeah, it's interesting if the water flowing out of the pool into the bar. I mean,
mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting. It seems like a really cool concept, and it's really awesome that they were able to do that.
I did see a video of somebody that was on there this week about the elevators. So they're like the smart elevators where you hit the button and there's no buttons inside.
Noticed that.
It tells you. We had those on Seascape, and it told you how long you'd have to wait for the elevator to come. But I didn't see that on Icon, and I feel like
interesting.
Sometimes it was like a minute 30 or 2 minutes to wait for an elevator. I wonder if people are just gonna end up taking the stairs. Those because they weren't that efficient. I feel like the buttons inside were a little bit better.
No, because
I don't know. I guess time will tell.
Horizon and Panorama have elevators like that, and there's a reason why they don't have those types of elevators on the XL class. Like when I got on the Mardi Gras, I was like, oh, they don't have those elevators from the Horizon, and everybody on my family goes, good.
Yeah, because it's like you hit the button, but then everybody else that has hit the button that's going to the same floor on your way to that floor also have to get in, so you have to stop for them too. So it's like, ugh.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm interested to see how it actually plays out, and of course, I'll be on it in a few weeks, which I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I can only imagine how excited you are.
I drove down I didn't drive the second time, but I went down to Miami twice already to go see that thing. That's how excited I am, and I'm only on the 4th sailing, and I've already taken the trip all the way down to Miami just to see it multiple times.
What kind of room do you have?
We have a balcony.
I think not the infinite balcony. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have a standard balcony. I don't think we have infinite. On Star, we have the infinite Central Park balconies. That is going to be really cool. That's going to be cool.
That would be very cool.
It's funny because like my parents were pricing it out, and it was the same price if my parents did a ocean view balcony and my sister and I did a inside across the hall. It was the same price for those 2 cabins as it was for 2 connecting Central Park infinite balconies. So we're like, well, let's just do that.
Yeah, and I think they just haven't gotten the best rep in like on the Oasis class, so people they're maybe lower prices to get people either to book them again, fill them up, or have other people try something new.
Right, exactly. And one thing I really like that I've noticed so far with the Icon, and one of the biggest downfalls of the Oasis class, and I think that's what they were trying to accomplish with the Oasis class, there's not much of a connection with the water. You don't get very many, unless you're all the way up at the top of the ship or in the back by the Aqua Theater, you're just not going to see the water anywhere. You got the outdoor jogging track down on deck 5, but that's mostly covered by lifeboats. Like, there's just not a lot of outward facing things on those ships. And I think where Caribbean noticed that.
Does Icon have any sort of? I know it's not like an actual boardwalk, but a track goes down by the lifeboats. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention.
Yes, it does.
It does.
I think
Okay.
it's very similar. I think they intentionally kind of laid this out a little bit similar to the Oasis, and I'm not 100% sure. It's just what I've kind of picked up off of videos and photos.
Okay.
But one thing I've noticed is like with Central Park, there's nowhere to look outside on the Central Park in the Oasis class. But with the Icon class, and I guess this goes with the Promenade too. In the Promenade, with the Pearl, you get those windows, that big square.
Huge windows, yeah.
Exactly, and then you get like an outdoor area you can actually walk outside. Well, in
Mhm.
Central Park, there's actually a wall of glass inside Central Park where you can look in. It's not directly through the window, but you can see in to the Promenade where like the Pearl is. You can see into that, and then of course you can look outside as well through that glass, and you can see the ocean.
Mhm. Hopefully, on the other iterations, they I don't know, keep something similar to the Pearl, but don't just do the Pearl every single time. Like change it up and
Change it up,
maybe replace it with something else.
like how it's got all like the tiles and stuff like that. Maybe like the
It
next
has that
one,
move.
yeah,
Some sort
maybe
of art sculpture, like each Oasis Plex, one's got the the spinning thing and the
right.
sculpture.
Or if they just
So
made it like
change
a
it up.
full LED, like kind of like the Dreamscape on the Vista class, like do some sort of LED
Yep.
effect like that. Like if they changed
Hmm.
that up, that would be really neat if they did that.
Yeah, and I'm surprised they didn't do like something similar to like what's on the World Europa, and they did like the screen up at the top. I know it changes
Hmm.
colors in the in the boardwalk, but I don't know. Maybe they'll add that in eventually on other
So that
shows.
would be pretty cool. I've noticed MSC's
It
like
would
really
be.
heavy on doing that because they've done that with the
Mhm.
Mirabilia Plus, and I think even like
Yeah,
the
all of
newer,
those.
I think even the newer Seaside class, like the Seaside Evo class, like Seascape Seashore. Did they have that?
They didn't. They didn't have them all at all.
Oh, okay. I thought I. Oh,
Yeah.
that class has like there's like a wall almost instead. It's like a Manhattan area almost. Maybe it's on
Yeah,
Seashore.
it's like a
Yes.
small like little thing where they just play like violin or piano at night.
Oh, okay, okay.
But it was just a big tall wall. It wasn't anything
Gotcha. Okay.
fancy. But
I'm definitely
I don't know.
trying to go
I
on
do
MSC
enjoy the
this
big
year.
mall. Do it, do it, do it. I know we were talking about it a couple weeks ago, but you got
I
to do it.
I've been finding some very cheap 3-night cruises on the seashore out of Port Canaveral, and I want to do it so bad. I need to do it. I just want to say I've tried MSC at this point, and I'm wondering, how of course the Oasis class, but the Icon class goes against World America.
And I'm very curious to hopefully they learn from their mistakes from the other ones that have been here. Seaside, Seashore, Seascape that have all been here, Magnifica, Divina.
Hmm.
By the time that comes out, to iron, all
Hmm.
their issues out. But I'm very excited for that. I definitely do. That's on my list of ones to try.
Yeah, I definitely want to try the World America, and I think it's mostly just to like see how they compare against how Royal Caribbean does it, because a lot of people like the running joke is that they ripped off the Icon class, they ripped off the Oasis class with the big open back and the split structure in the back, all that. So especially with
Mhm.
like they have that big slide in the back now.
The big dry slide.
Yep. And one
I
funny
had
thing I've noticed with the
known.
Utopia is that so with the Ultimate Abyss, it was a 10-story dry slide. Well, with the World Europa, it was ever so slightly longer or taller than
So
the
they could
Ultimate
say
Abyss.
that it's
So
the
they could say it was
biggest
the
one.
biggest.
Yeah.
what they did with the Utopia, it's up on a platform now, so it's even taller. So now the
Exactly.
Utopia has the largest at sea.
Got it.
Good
Yeah, I
stuff.
knew somebody that was on one of the inaugural ones for World Europa back, a couple months ago, a year ago. They said it was great, amazing when it was in Europe. So hopefully
Hmm.
that irons out when it comes here. And that new terminal, that's going to be
Oh my God, that terminal is
amazing,
huge. Have you seen it?
amazing. I've seen pictures of it, but
Oh
for
my,
two ships to dock, I can only imagine how big it's going to be.
2 World Europa class ships to dock there. That's how big it'll be. But
Yeah.
like when I saw it the other day, like if you, I mean, you've seen Terminal A. My cat's messing with the microphone. Um, but like you've seen Terminal A and B, like it's like double the size. I mean, obviously it's double the size. Like it's legitimately double the size. Like it's a
Double the
massive,
size.
and like the parking garage right next to it is almost taller than A. It's huge.
I mean, it needs to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're definitely doing the right job here. It's just it's insane to see like how big, these terminals are. Like that terminal is like MSC is not playing around.
No, and I think they need to definitely like submit themselves as like a real competitor, or
Hmm.
they're just gonna get lost.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think honestly I see them as more of a competitor these days than NCL sometimes. Like just the
They're
way that
very up and
NCL's falling
coming.
behind.
They are kind of falling behind, and it goes back to pumping these ships out and making something different.
Hmm.
Obviously, the Prima class was different, and it captures a certain part of the industry,
Hmm.
but I don't think it was a big enough part of the industry
Yeah.
to really submit themselves as being innovative.
Right, exactly. And I just don't think they did, even if they tried to appeal to the people that like smaller ships, and I think they just didn't do the ship right. I hear the layout is the worst. It's just a bad layout is what it is. And of course the top
Yeah,
deck, but like
and
yeah, I think they
mhm.
made it for a certain market, but they didn't quite do it right for the market. You know, the people that want smaller ships, they want more space to just relax and just hang out.
No,
There's
and they just
barely a
tried to
pool deck.
fit 50 things into something that can only fit
Right.
20 things.
Right.
There's too much going on.
Everything
So they
from
were
the
trying to put
Encore.
their hands in their baskets,
Right.
and the basket was too small.
Right, exactly. Everything from the Encore that was 167,000 tons is crammed
Mhm.
onto the Prima that's 140.
Yeah, and I mean, even Encore. I mean, that's not people's favorite either, because they tried to fit even more things onto it,
Hmm.
and like they took away the Spice H2O in the back and put stupid laser tag. Like that was a stupid decision,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
it's funny because like yeah, that was something that they were confident enough in. They were putting laser tag on all their ships, all the go karts, to the point where they did that and made it like a whole thing with that ship, and now like they're
Mhm.
removing the laser tag from the Joy.
Now, yeah.
I
Well,
think
granted, I
they
think that it's
what?
in a different place. That's all the way up
Hmm.
at the top deck,
Right,
but that would just be a sun deck on other ships. But
right.
when you replace a whole movie screen where they have the parties every night, I think it's a little bit more difficult to
Yeah, yeah, that was
either
a big party
move
spot.
or. Mhm.
But I guess back to the icon. I,
Yes.
it it's cool how they've redone this ship, and it really again feels like an Oasis 2.0 in the fact that now you can see outside. You can see the ocean from Central Park, which is really nice. And I've seen pictures of like they even have chairs just like there for people to sit and like look through the windows and just like watch the water in Central Park.
And I think they need that because
Yeah,
they need to space people out.
yeah,
So that's good.
yeah, and the Central Park and like everything seems a lot bigger too. I think they made a lot more of the space is one thing. Like they made the promenade multi-level. They where they've got shopping and restaurants down, or I think the shopping and bars are down like on the bottom. All the restaurants are up at the
Hmm.
top. So they spaced all that out differently. The Central Park looks wider. I don't know if it's because of the infinite balconies that the way they've done it, but Central Park looks a lot
Maybe
more wide and open.
it does, and I feel like there's still like the restaurants on the sides, but it's not as packed as what it is on the Oasis class.
Right, exactly. It's definitely interesting. And I've noticed like with like Izumi, like the Japanese restaurant on there, they have
Mm-hmm.
Izumi at the park, which is like I think just like a little almost like a to go stand for that.
Yeah, and I
But
think that's
it's
great.
built into the side of it to where that restaurant isn't protruding out into the actual area to where I mean it really is just like one big open area with stuff on the side. There's nothing sticking out really. You've got all the plants and stuff like that, like the Oasis class. But like
Mhm.
the bars are sticking out. There's areas, outdoor seating areas that protrude out into the boardwalk area or Central Park area. Same thing with playmakers in say Sabor with the boardwalk area. It kind of sticks out a little bit where it seems like everything's just tucked away and tucked inside to where you get a lot more space in these areas.
And the other thing is that there's so many different places to eat. That's great that they're spreading
Yeah.
people out. And I also had seen a video of somebody on the inaugural this week. They're saying like deck parties, other ships, they usually do one place or comedy club in one thing. It seems that like they've got like 4 or 5 different things going on at the same time, which is good because I think when everybody wants to go to the comedy show or everybody wants to go to the Aquadome or whatever, there's something
Right.
else going on at the same time, and it's not just
Right.
that's the one thing for the night, boom, done. So I think they definitely did a good job on that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's one thing I liked about the way they did it. Like speaking of the comedy clubs and spacing it out with the XL class for Carnival, that's kind of what they did is that they were hosting two different comedy shows at once. At once they had a the 18 plus like in the Punchliner Lounge. It had a full on dedicated Punchliner Lounge for the comedy shows. But then like the
Mm-hmm.
older ships have like the Limelight. And what they did with that is they put the Limelight on Mardi Gras and all those, but they put it kind of like towards like kind of hidden away, which is weird. But they put the underage the kid friendly shows were there,
Kid friendly.
so they were splitting it up. They had two comedy shows going on. They had the shows going on in the whatever it was called, Central Plaza or Central Place. I forgot. I keep forgetting the name of it. But yeah, that's like the biggest thing is
Yeah, like the main thing. Yeah.
splitting everybody up, making sure not everybody's congregating in one spot.
And I definitely think that was the biggest issue with Seascape. There would only be one thing,
Really.
one comedy show, either one, dance show or one dance party. And then that would be the only thing that's going on. And
Yeah.
then there would be nothing going on from, 4 o'clock till that happened at, 10 o'clock. And we had the early dinner. So we were like, we have 4 hours and not a single thing is happening on the ship besides like live music in the atrium.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's like I think that's one of the best parts about Oasis. They don't quite go as in depth, I think, as from what it seems like with the Icon class, but that's one of the best
Mhm.
parts about Oasis in the way they were able to spread out everybody on those ships. Like with I know Mardi Gras is a little bit smaller and has the same guest capacity. And Mardi Gras, one of the only things I didn't like about it is that it was a little crowded feeling at times. But with the Oasis class, I've never really felt crowded on Oasis class.
No, and I've only heard, people here and there saying that it's crowded, but not as bad as, you'd expect. I think they did a good job definitely spacing people out.
Right, exactly. Um, yeah, like there's only like a few random times where you actually have like a lot of people just congested into one area on the Oasis class. And I think it's
Mhm.
mostly for like, the balloon drops that they do on the first night.
Yeah,
There's always a
but
lot
that's
of
to be
people for
expected.
that. But like the rest of the week, I on the Wonder that has close to 7,000 people like the Icon does, and I never really felt crowded at all on that ship. And same with the Allure, when I sailed on a couple months ago, like there's so much going on these ships, and I think they did even better. They packed even more onto the Icon to where that's just even less of a problem.
But now, somebody has a first time. Would you recommend that, for the 3 and 4 day? What would be your perception as a first time never going on one with that many people and not knowing, that other ships may do it a little bit differently? I don't know how that's going to be perceived.
Like with Utopia, or like if you were to put an icon class on
I
them?
mean, either or. I mean, they're very similar. I don't know how that's going to be perceived as somebody's first cruise. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, and it's funny with like somebody's first cruise. It's not always hit or miss, but like there are always just like the one-off situations that happen. Like I know you had mentioned in like an old
Mhm.
podcast, like you had that you were on the day where they was it like a ferry. I think it was the ferry boat to Fisher Island crashed with a
Yeah.
boat, and you had a friend that
Mhm.
was cruising for the first time.
First time, and he's like, "Oh, I'll never do a cruise again."
Exactly, and that was just
And
something
I'm
so
like, and
minor,
it's
and that
like,
never happens again. It
mhm.
was a one-time
And I
thing.
mean, like that first day, you get on, you're
First
excited to go
impressions
to
mean
the
everything.
buffet, and then there's yeah, and there's like party when you're leaving. Everybody's drinking, having a good time. Nice sunset as you're like leaving, and then you go to dinner, whatever. But like that's like your good first impression, like, oh, this is gonna be a good time. But
Hmm.
when you're sitting in the terminal for over 10 hours and didn't leave the port until like 1 a.m.,
Yeah.
and there were no parties, there was nothing planned. Like it was just a mess. But yeah,
Right.
like I said, first impression is everything.
Right. Exactly. And it's funny because like I used to always think this way about the Oasis class. Back when it was just Oasis and Allure. Like I would almost say, don't go on the Oasis or Allure for your first cruise because you're gonna get spoiled. And like, I mean, there's really nothing else that compares. But like now, there's six different ones, but or six different Oasis class and the Icon class, which
Mm-hmm.
is maybe even better. And you also have the Quantum class. Like you have so many different options, and like it used to be that the Oasis and the Allure were like the pinnacle of the industry and like the
Mm-hmm.
best of the best. And not to say that they aren't.
They still are
They always
to a
will
certain
be.
point.
Oasis,
Mm-hmm.
as old as it is still one of the best ships out there. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, to this day, just nothing rivals the Oasis class, and even the originals with the Allure. Allure was probably one of the better ones I've been on. Um,
Yeah.
but
And I think even when those ships like start out like not having the slides, not
mhm,
having,
yeah,
all the things, and then slowly adding the stuff that they knew
yeah,
worked and stuck through all the other ones is good, because that definitely attracts,
right,
kids. If there's no slides, what are they going to do as per se? So
right,
that's good that they added up and they learned. So that was
yeah,
just kind of going back to that.
yeah. And I definitely think that back in the day when Oasis and Allure first came out too, is that Royal wasn't much of a kid friendly cruise
Not at
line.
all.
Not to say it's like adults only, but they definitely didn't have a focus towards kids. But now,
Yeah.
they have all the water parks, they have all the slides, things like that on the Oasis class. But like the Surfside area is like a kid focused area
And I
from what it
wonder
looks like.
how that part is going to be perceived with all those rooms there. I know they said in that area it's going to be all family rooms, but hopefully I don't really want to listen to kids screaming all day long, even if I'm not in with kids. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, exactly. And that was like my biggest thing too is when I saw that and they were like, "Oh, this is a kid-friendly area." And the very back it's Splashaway Bay, a little water splash pad for kids. And I was thinking,
Hmm.
like the boardwalk wasn't noisy on the Oasis class like with the Aqua Theater and everything like that. At times it did during the shows, but like it really wasn't all that bad. But like
Hmm.
that's that noise from the shows, the bell of the carousel going around and all of that. That's different noise than kid noise.
Maybe kids screaming, and maybe obviously it won't be happening at night.
Hmm.
That might be another thing. I think that's probably why a lot of people don't like the those inside facing things. And I mean, think now
Yeah.
they're going to get a better view because there's not a big arch theater thing in the way, which
Yeah.
I think will help the situation.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that was one thing. Like with Wonder, you had, I guess the originals have kind of like a little bit more of an open shell in the back, if you want to call it their shell or arch, whatever the heck you want to
Hmm.
call it. That it was a little bit
Yeah,
more open. What with Wonder and Utopia, it's a little bit more
all
enclosed.
like
It's like
covered
it's
up.
more of a
Yeah,
shell look to it,
glass.
and you've got the abyss in the way, to where you don't really see much outside.
Not at all.
which that's always kind of been a downside, which I guess you don't get anything in the Central Park, but so I guess it's
Mhm.
better than nothing. But yeah, that's one thing I guess they probably did better with Surfside on Icon, is that, you know, get a little bit more ocean views, and same thing with the Central Park. Like I mentioned earlier, they have that, you know, it's small, yes, but they have a spot where you can look outside and you can see the ocean.
That, and I mean, good that they put a kids eatery down there for
Yeah.
like chicken and to
Oh,
keep
I'm
them
gonna be
away
there
from
all
the
the time.
buffet because that's the oh I mean that's what I would be, but I mean to keep all the little kids out of the buffet and running around and spilling their plates all over the place. But I mean still, I think keeping that area as a kids only area is great. Having food there, drinks there,
Mhm.
slides there, pools there, keep them all in that area.
Yeah, I think Royal Caribbean, like, especially going from Oasis and like refocusing into the Icon, like they definitely have more of a family focus on the Icon, which I think is one of their bigger markets now. Is they're trying to appeal to, I hate to say people my age, but you know, not that I'm
The
30.
younger, the
I'm
20s
not.
and
Yeah,
30s,
they're focusing, yeah, mid 20s, upper 30s, you know, 30 to 35 with kids type of thing. You know,
Mhm.
that's who their market is now. And, you know, and they do it right to where they focus on that market, but they still please like everything else. Like above that, we're already there, always been cruising with Royal Caribbean for like a long time, all the Pinnacle members, things like that. You know, like they're still enjoying these ships despite getting like the family focus now.
And I think they need to do that just because, even like the new ships that, are
Mm-hmm.
coming out, like let's say Apex for Celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not the most kid friendly,
Mm-hmm.
but those are still doing really good. But I don't think as good as they could, if they did add one or two more kid friendly things,
Right.
which I know it's not really a Celebrity thing, but I feel like that would take them in a good direction if
Oh
they
yeah,
did.
for sure. And I think like the refocus like towards kids and everything like that and families, like I think that's where this is going to become the next, you know, the the 2020s game changer, like Oasis was back in 2010. Like this is the 2020s
Oh,
decade
for sure.
game changer
Yep.
because it's doing everything that the Oasis did great, but it's creating more of a, you know, instead of a just a casual like traditional cruise experience on this massive cruise ship, they're they're putting everything in that we love and have today, like modern technologies, and they're putting it to where, you know, it's a vacation for everybody, literally everybody, old,
Everybody.
young, kids, adults, you know, 50s, 70s, however old you are. Like there's something going on that you're going to enjoy on this ship.
And
So
I
I,
mean, basically, obviously, for like the 2020s, we
mm-hmm,
kind of know everything that's coming out for,
mm-hmm,
the next 6 years. There's nothing really, I mean, there's things that are coming out that are catching people's eyes,
mm-hmm.
but I have never seen so much media on any other ship
No,
other than Icon. And I think that
yeah,
really means something.
I think it's also just putting this, it's almost like if the Oasis was to come out today. Like this is probably, you know, it's the modern day Oasis. You know, the Oasis unfortunately is a little outdated, or not outdated, but you know, it's an old ship. It came out
Yeah,
13
it's
years
seen
ago.
its days.
And you know, if back in 2009 we didn't have social media, and you know, and it was also just like a different era for Royal Caribbean. So, you
Hmm.
know, you didn't get the massive hype cycles, which the Oasis really had a big hype cycle. Like, there's nothing from that era that had quite the hype cycle that the Oasis class had, just because of how
Hmm.
the biggest ship in the world was 70,000 tons smaller. Like, it wasn't even
Yeah,
close back then. And, like, it's still like that now, even with the mega ships coming out.
true.
But, like, now we live in the day and age of social media. Like, and everybody's a content creator now. You know, anybody that owns a camera
Everybody.
is becoming a content creator, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. Like people take pictures, post them online, they get a like, and they're a content creator. Like, I
Yep.
mean, and so there's tons of people that are, you know, making content and just, you know, excited about these ships. And like so I went down for the maiden voyage to watch it leave that day, and I counted it in the air. I think we counted 20 drones were up in the air that day.
I can only imagine.
They
And they got some good pictures.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because Jerry and Adam's away on Instagram. They were there flying
Mhm.
their drones, and there's like a little hill at South Point Park, and that's usually where like all the drone pilots will take off from. And Adam was saying, he's like, from it, the amount of drone pilots there, like it really ranged from, there were people there who had their FAA.
Amateurs to
Right.
people who know what they're doing.
Right, like Jerry and Adam that have their 107 pilot's license, things like that. And then Adam was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, and there's the guy over there that was pulling the Best Buy stickers off of it." Like he just, like, there
Yeah.
was so many. Again, like anybody buys a drone, they're a content creator, like that type of thing. Not
Mhm.
discouraging or saying anything bad about it. It's just like that's the
No,
age
for
we live in.
sure.
Like, and I love to see that there's so many people like passionate about the industry, things like that. It's just crazy. Like there's so much more amplified hype now because of the age of social media.
And the other thing is what I think they did smart, and I think it kind of served a two-way purpose, is that, it got here at the beginning of the month, and it didn't
Hmm.
start sailing till the 27th, and they were running 1 and 2 day cruises to stress test the ship.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Get all the social media people, make hype. But I
Hmm.
think that was also their buffer if anything ever went wrong at the shipyard,
Right.
that they'd have that buffer, and then they wouldn't tell anybody as per se that we're running late or we're delayed, but it would just arrive on time if so. But I think the social media benefited them in a very good way because you saw that ship everywhere. Even
Hmm.
my grandma that only watches not English, she's like, oh, it's new. I was like, yes. But yeah,
Yeah,
good for them. I think it worked in their favor.
absolutely. And speaking of Adam, he actually got to go on the Icon for I think about a day or two, and he said it was like
Mm,
the most incredible thing. Like
I can imagine.
it's insane. That the funny part is he was like, there's a video of him playing catch with Rover the dog on
The
like
dog, oh, that's so good.
after midnight, just throwing a glow in the dark ball down the promenade, and the dog.
Captain Kate and Bugs dupe.
For real. Like I'm so excited to meet the dog. It's gonna be awesome. Um,
That was a good addition for them for sure.
oh yeah, and like again, it's a family friendly ship. They're focusing everything
Mhm.
towards families. What's more family friendly than a golden retriever puppy?
And a golden retriever. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean it's not gonna be a puppy forever, but like I mean,
No, but
what's more
still.
family friendly than a golden retriever, especially as a puppy? Like right now,
Yeah,
everybody's gonna love
nothing.
that.
Yep, everybody.
It's yeah. They're doing a lot of things right with the ship, and I think that ship is tailored to this new generation of cruisers. Whether it's millennials, Gen Z, or even the older generations too. Like there's a lot for everybody on board. I've even seen there's one area like at the pool deck where there's like at like those cheesy like downtown bars that have like the neon signs in the background with like a cheesy catchphrase. Like there's
Yeah, but
something.
all the teenagers like that and post on social media, and they
Exactly.
love
There's
that kind
like I've seen at least one or two walls that are like that, like in videos of Icon. Like they have that.
of. Mhm.
The social media
Yeah.
spots. You know,
Hmm.
they made that a
Instagrammable
ship.
spots.
Yeah. They made that into a ship that's going to advertise itself.
Yep,
Like, there's just so much they did
100%.
right with that ship. And
But I
yeah,
mean, they also got to keep up, with the fundamentals. We were
yeah.
talking kind of before on, those big ships. Food. That's something you're gonna remember.
Hmm.
Obviously, I know it's 7,000 people. You can't expect 5-star everything.
Hmm.
But if I'm paying $7,000 for a trip, it better be good, better than run of the mill. So
Right.
hopefully, obviously
Right.
it's the beginning. I know a few people I've seen on the videos. It's just okay, and I don't know
Really.
how just okay will you know make it in the long run, but
You're
hopefully they
right.
get it set.
Yeah, and it's probably a little bit of stress testing still. I mean, it's their first 7-day
Oh,
voyage.
100%. I was gonna
So
say it's their first thing, so they're still getting used
yeah,
to it.
because I
But
mean, all the food provisions that they've taken on over the last couple weeks here in the U.S., it's just been 2-3 day like
one or
quick and
two
yeah,
day, yeah.
exactly. So I mean, it'll probably shape up a little bit more over time, but like you said, I mean, there's 7,000 people on board. It's not gonna be the greatest meal you've ever had in your life. There's some ships that have got really good food, and I've like Allure had very good food. Symphony didn't. Oasis did. You know, it varies from ship to ship, and at times like I always use this example, like when people say, "Oh, well, I don't want to do this ship because people said the food was bad." I go, I sailed on Independence of the Seas in August of
Each week is
2022.
different.
Exactly. I sailed on that ship in August of 2022. Food is fantastic. Really, really good. I sailed on the ship in September of 2022, a month late, like 3 weeks later. The food sucked. So like it varies from ship to ship. At times, I mean, there's different crew, different, you know, I mean, depends on the provisions they get too. I mean, it just
Yeah.
it depends. But yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, you know, the appeal to everybody. I mean, they legitimately
And
have something for everybody on those ships.
and there's that one restaurant that only holds like 50 people, and it's like $200 something per person
Oh
or
my
something.
God, the supper club. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
So that's one of the
I
things that
hope.
they're changing on Star too. I'm sure that's going to be really good food.
Oh, it better be.
hmm Like it's like a big Manhattan, New York themed place. It's $200
Mhm.
per person, but you're gonna get probably some of the best food you've ever had in your life at sea. But yeah, that food better be good if I'm paying that much money
It better
for it.
be.
I know they're gonna do a Chicago theme on Star, is what they've said.
Oh, okay.
That's
Nice. I think
one of the
that'll work good
first
for them.
changes that they've talked about with Star is that they're gonna do Chicago theme with that restaurant, and there's gonna be an extra hot tub.
Good. And I mean, another thing they could change is the water park. Instead of
Yeah,
doing the same slides, change one or two of them. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know on Oasis they all have the exact same water park basically, but that would be nice to differentiate. And just like the breakaway class,
Right.
every single one of them has the tube slide and the drop slide.
hmm
I wish they had done something different.
Right. I mean, like the first three, they had the two drops, and
The
then they
racing
had
ones would do one, yeah.
right, and then with Escape, they did those, but then they had the the raft slide instead of the spinny
The
ones,
raft one.
and then like the Joy had like the Joy Bliss and Encore had the raft, but then they changed the drop
Yeah.
slide. So like stuff like that,
Change
like
the
over time, they're gonna just make changes to all these ships and make them progressively even better.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely think just given the day and age of social media and just the fact that they took everything that's great about the Oasis and how great it was back in the day, just everything about that, all the success and all the great things they've done, especially, even the stuff that they've done with Wonder and Utopia. And I think they've even carried over some stuff from Icon to Wonder and Utopia. But they've taken everything that's great and put more of a family focus on it, and just again there's something for everybody on these ships, and I think that's
Go
what's going to
ahead.
turn these Icon class into the next game changer and the next industry changer, because I think now that we're getting Icon, like when we had Oasis, after that it was the era of the mega ships. You had the 150s, 160, 170, 180,000 ton ships. I think now that we've got Icon, I think 200,000 tons, love it or hate it, I think 200,000 tons is going to start being the new industry standard. You're going to see a lot more that's going to be over that mark. Next Carnival project is going to be over that.
Yeah, for sure. And what I was gonna say is, if they're filling up these ships, and if people are paying $6,000-7,000, they are making that bank.
They're going to pay off I mean, this is a $2 billion ship each,
Yeah,
and they're definitely going to be paying these things off very quick and easy. Like, it's incredible.
very.
I've never seen prices like that before on a cruise ship, and the fact that the ships are still selling out. They had to open up 2026 sailings like months and ahead of time for Icon because
Mhm.
it was selling out.
Yeah, and I know like the Royal Suite, like the biggest room, that one's booked till the end of the year.
And there's that's like $80,000 a week.
80 a week. That's
Oh
so
my
crazy.
god, insane! It's insane. It's incredible, and again, it's selling out every week to the point where they're releasing sailings ahead of
You
time.
you have the Wi-Fi, right? You're gonna be able to be
Yes.
posting while you're on there?
Yes.
Okay.
And for those listening, as long as the Wi-Fi cooperates, which it's a brand new ship, so I'm hoping it does. But I'm gonna
Better.
do a podcast from Icon. We're gonna
Nice.
remote in. We're gonna do some wizardry with OBS here, and we're gonna get this to work. I'm gonna do basically a Discord call like we do here, but I'll be calling from the ship and have all the
That's
stuff
sweet.
in the background. So I'm very excited to be doing that. We're actually planning to do that tonight for tonight's podcast from Norwegian Epic with Justin, but Wi-Fi wasn't cooperating, wasn't working too well on that older ship. But hopefully everything works out with that.
Did they say that it has Starlink?
I'm assuming it does.
Okay, got it.
I think
I'm
all
gonna
of
assume as
I think
well.
all of Royal Caribbean has Starlink now, which is nice.
Now, okay, good.
Yeah,
Because I know
I'm
it was
pretty
just
sure.
rolling out to Norwegian, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think Epic does have Starlink. It's just not very good.
Got
It's
it.
probably just throttled. I know, like a lot of the ships that have Starlink right now are kind of throttled, but
Yeah.
it is what it
I mean,
is.
with them raising the internet prices, I mean, it better
It's
work. Like, you know
insane.
what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah,
you
for
can't pay, however much. Was it already included when you booked, or did you pay extra?
I paid
for
extra.
having the week?
I think it was like $22 a day.
Okay, that's not terrible.
No, it's not. I think that's about average for most cruise lines, but like I know Justin paid
Mhm.
like out the butt for his Wi-Fi on the Epic. So I think that's one of the
Yeah, I think
things my Joy
mine-
cruise it was included.
Okay, yeah, good. Well, it's included for like 150 minutes, and then
That's
like,
what
for
it is.
Getaway with Summer for the whatever 10 or
Yeah.
11-day trip, whatever it was $200. So I guess that's not too terrible. But
Yeah.
we also had a discount because we're like platinum or whatever. So
Right.
I don't know what that would estimate to regular people, but
Right.
still, it's still pricey. And it was still
Yeah.
very spotty. But they told us it had to do with, sailing around Turkey. They don't like people going into it's like satellites or something. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
That's weird.
I still paid and I want it to work.
That's weird. But yeah, as we start to kind of wrap up the podcast here, it's crazy. It's already been an hour.
I know, that was
like
so quick.
from what you've seen of the Icon so far, like what are your in comparisons to the Oasis class? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think it actually is going to be the next game changer, industry changer?
I think so. I mean, they did so many things right with it, and it's got all this attention. It's booked out for a year. No other ship has been able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming out with all these new ideas. Basically something for everybody is the way you got to go, because
Right.
if you exclude kids, or you exclude sports people, or you exclude the thrill seekers that want the slides and the zip lines and blah 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
you're missing out on the market. But they really included everything and the kitchen sink, and hopefully it works out for them, and I think it's going to, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I think they've taken everything that's been successful with the Oasis class over the last 13, 14 years, whether it was the Oasis or the Wonder or Utopia, like they've taken everything that's good about those ships, improved it, and then just made it to where, like we've been saying pretty much all night, like they made something for everybody. And I think that's the most impressive part about it. And I think that's what's going to create this industry change is like Royal Caribbean was able to do it and make like I guess I can't really say the perfect ship because that's always suggestive, but like they made a ship for everybody. Yeah. They made a ship
100%.
for literally everybody. And honestly, like to me, I would say it's the perfect ship. I haven't sailed on it yet. I'll have a better opinion on it soon.
But yes, we'll talk in a few weeks.
Yeah, we will talk in a few weeks on the podcast from that one. I'll let you know how it actually is. But
Fantastic.
it's incredible what they've really been able to pull off, and like the record, it's been shattering sales records throughout the industry.
Oh,
and it's only on its first sailing. Like it's just incredible.
And the only but is just hopefully they expand it. Everyone's like, why does it always have to be in Florida? Why does it all have to be in Florida?
Right.
Hopefully, as more come out, they're able to expand them. Other people get to try them, and maybe some different ports. Because like I said at the beginning, you go on Icon once. Okay, do I want to go to Cozumel, Jamaica, and Nassau again for the
Right.
same ship. So I hope that they make changes, small changes at least,
Right.
throughout the years. But I
Right.
think the ship itself is definitely the destination for first-time people, and that's going to be
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
main
Absolutely.
reason why everybody books it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the only reason I'm only going on this Icon and the Star because
Exactly.
I want to go on the Icon and the Star. I don't care where it goes. I do not care.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be all for tonight's podcast, and I hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you for listening and watching all the way up to this point. We're gonna be doing a bonus podcast this week on Sunday. We're again streaming it here on YouTube and then uploading it on the other platforms later on, as usual. But we're gonna be doing a Norwegian Epic review podcast with Justin, who will be getting off of the Norwegian Epic Sunday morning. So hope you guys are excited for that one as well. And we've got a couple more very exciting podcasts here up in the next few weeks. So thank you guys again for listening and watching, and have a great time, or have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks, Brandon, for having me on. See ya.
Oh yeah, of course.